Good morning. Ooh.
Good morning. How are you? Finally.
Yes, finally. Thank you
I
for
know. I'm
meeting
like, oh
with
my
me.
God, we've been trying to do this for a couple of weeks now.
What's that?
I said we've been trying to do this for a couple of weeks, so I'm happy it worked out finally.
Oh, yes, I am too. Well, congratulations on all the move and everything that was
Thank
happening.
you. Thank you.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you were able to join us. Wonderful. Wow. So this is a new place.
It's a new place. Yeah, I had a salon in Somerville, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
We moved to Raritan, so it's a new space, new year. So it's pretty exciting.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get started.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. This is Stephanie Blake with Laurel Bride Magazine, back here with you guys celebrating designers of color in the bridal market. We love to honor people of color and people of all ethnicities, from all races and backgrounds, specifically in the world of bridal. And we love to share your pioneering pathways and the encouragement that you could bring to the world and our subscribers. And this is the thing that we're celebrating for this month, especially in the month of Black History. So we're not just celebrating Black history, we celebrate people all year long, every day of our lives, and we're people of love. So today we are excited to have Jean-Ralph Thurin, amazing designer right here in the US. And we are happy to have you today. Thank you so much again for joining us. And we're excited to have you. Tell me a little bit about you and your background and how you started.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Haitian American. Both my parents are Haitian, but I was born here in the U.S. in New York, actually.
All right.
But I was very lucky early on. My father worked for the United Nations, so I was able to travel and be abroad at an early age, from the age of 6 years old. So I lived from 6 to 13 in Africa.
Wow.
And yeah, it was the most amazing thing. And I think it attributes to a lot of the way I look at things. So I just had a great upbringing, and I was able to be in a completely different culture and flourish, And then I traveled a lot too. So my dad was able every summer to go to a different country, a different city. So we got to really do a lot at an early age.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that's what I did. And when I got to New York for high school, I moved to Long Island. And my dad had a house there. And that's when I went through high school. And I pretty much knew right away that, I had, I say, inkling for fashion, because my mom was very fashionable. And I always used to watch her go to a lot of state affairs with my dad, and the way she would dress. And I always got into that. Grandma had an old Singer machine, and she used to make pajamas for us. So I just got really interested in that. And somehow between all this stuff, I also love architecture. And I used to love looking at buildings, especially when we traveled, all the different old historical buildings. And I think between that and fashion, that really got the love of what I do now, which is all my inspiration. A lot of it comes from buildings, from looking at lines in buildings, different places, that I've been. So that's how I started. Very lucky to go to a high school that had a fashion design program. And and that's where I went.
Wow. What high school was that?
Elma Memorial High School.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually met my wife there too.
Your life was pretty much designed for you, huh?
I always tell my parents, I said, once they gave me that name, I said to them, I had to be a designer, because I always felt like my name was really good for that. Like, I always loved that part of my name. It sounded like
That's so wonderful to say. That is so wonderful to say. This is exciting for me too. I'm Haitian American as well.
Awesome.
Yes. My mom is from Havana, Cuba, and my father is Haitian. And I was
Oh,
born here as well, with a
okay.
high school design background. That's why I asked you about what school you went to. Um,
Okay.
so that's
What?
awesome to know.
Yeah. Awesome. What school did you go to?
I went to the High School of Fashion Industries in Manhattan.
Oh, one of my best friends went there.
Yeah, and
Like,
people didn't know that those schools existed, even now.
I didn't. I remember at the time when she went, I didn't even know it existed until she told me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's great. So it looks like, or it seems like, how great this story is, that you everything was sort of like intentionally laid out for you. Your exposure to clothing, or your propensity to notice certain things. I love that art kind of like inspires you. How did you get into
Yeah.
bridal?
Well, yeah. So bridal was a somewhat accidental. I always love fashion. I love. I used to. In the beginning, one of the designers that I really followed, that became an inspiration, was Christian Dior and Gianfranco Ferre. I used to really love just watching those shows on Elsa Clinch. I don't know if you remember that. Elsa Clinch had a show on Sundays, and she used to have all these designers uh, runways from Europe. And
You're
so
dating yourself,
I
Jean-Ralph.
know, listen, it's seasoned. I'm a seasoned designer. What can I
Yes.
say?
That's awesome.
you know, but yeah, those were growing up. I think a lot of those, what I saw, I interpreted through my environment, somehow, because like going back to, like I said, my mom went to a lot of like functions, because my dad worked for a university, and it's like she went to a lot of functions, and they had a lot of, she had African wear, she had American stuff, and she just used to really mix it up. And I used to be like, I don't know, I was like enthralled with all that, and I just thought it was amazing. And when she would have people over the house, and everybody came with a different head wrap or all those different things, I just thought that was the most amazing thing. And I just knew back then that I had to dress somebody.
I
Who's gonna?
love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and then,
So,
like I said, when I met my wife in high school, we didn't really go out, but later on, when we went up in college, and once we started dating, I got to dress her, because I would make stuff all the time, like whatever came to my mind, I would just make it, and she obliged me, and she just would wear whatever.
of course. Wow. And so,
Yeah.
so that you're pretty stylish. So women's wear was really your first love.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, sorry, I forgot the question you asked me about bridal. So when I graduated, about 2 years before I graduated college, I was at Parsons School of Design, and I had a really good friend of mine who got engaged, actually. So and we were very good friends. She was this Italian lady, and we just became really good friends. And then she asked me to make her dress. She's like, "Oh, would you make my dress?" And this was maybe junior year. So senior year, she was like, "Okay." Actually, this was senior year, because it was a year after we graduated. So I made her dress, and that was the first thing. It was with her collaboration, obviously, because she was a fellow design student.
Right.
And that was the first time I actually realized how much I loved the process. And I think that's what really started the love of bridal, because I loved the time from we sketched it to getting the materials to just be involved in the whole process of it, like the fittings, and and our friendship. I think that made it even better, because it was just really a lot of fun doing that with her.
Yeah.
And she came from a very big Italian family, so I had the pressure of having to please the grandma, the grandma, everybody, because I wanted to push them. And we actually went to that wedding, and it was the most amazing feeling. Like, it was just great. And I think that was the beginning of really where it started.
Of course. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I
Yeah.
love that. And I think it's just important to even note, even for like our subscribers and our viewers and people that support World Bride, they come to us as like a concierge,
Mm-hmm.
to like what's the not like what's the next best thing, because people can search for trends all they want. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Brides do the research. They hire people, they do it themselves, and they do
Yeah,
diligence in trying to find that that gown that takes their breath away. And
absolutely.
so I'm a big believer that the person behind the dress, the person behind the gown, the person who is the visionary has a name and the
Hmm.
soul attached to it, which I think it's awesome that you embrace your name, you embrace who you are, and everything about you is connected to the product that you create.
Yeah,
Um, and because of that, it makes me so proud to share pieces like this, to write about, visionaries and designers like you who authentically create something to not simply to showcase, but to like ignite something. I know it blew her mind. I knew it blew your mind to see that gown on her for the very first time, but the impact that it made on her as her a peer, a classmate, to see something so wonderful, to actually choose you to make the one and only garment that a woman would make for the most important decision in her life. You know,
yeah, yeah. Even the craziest part about it is she could have made the dress herself. She's extremely
how
talented
about
herself.
that?
She was very, very talented, and she's gone on to do a lot of wonderful things. She has her own company as well. It just was one of those things where is she asked, and I was like, oh my god, and I did it,
You rose
and
up.
yeah, and I did, and I think throughout now, my career and what I do, I believe that I always tell my brides, as soon as they walk into my salon, I have this connection, and as soon as the connection happens, it's a wrap. Like it's gonna be great. Like
You
what I
already
mean? And
know.
that's one of the reasons why I meet my brides personally and I talk to them, because I really it's a because at the end of the day, yeah, you know, I'm designing and I'm doing the dress and I'm doing all that stuff, but the bride is who's gonna wear it. It's her day, and it's about all the feelings that brings to the surface on her
Yeah,
wedding day.
yeah.
And what best to be part of that? It should be a small part of that. There's a lot of things going on that day. But if you feel good, you look good, and nothing's gonna happen to you that day. You know what I mean? You just gotta
Absolutely
feel like
not.
amazing.
If the cake is on
Yeah.
fire, who cares? I look great. I feel
I,
great.
uh, I tell that all the time. I was like,
Right.
all the time, I'm like, that day, some flower girl might forget this, the bridesmaid forget, but if you look good, you're not gonna care about any of those
That's right.
details. And
That's
just
right.
to be part of that, that to me you can manage your wedding up until the day, but the day you're wedding, you have to have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a
That's
gift
the
you give
purpose of
them.
doing all that. You
Yeah.
enjoy it. Yeah, yeah.
And that is a true gift that you give. And I love that as creative people. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, so let's change the tone a little bit
Sure.
with respect to the point that we want to do is celebrate people of color. You know,
Mhm.
like
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
no, I was just moving my camera a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
like we celebrate every everyone under the human race, that's and I could speak for myself and my editorial director, Meredith Leon McCormick. We talk constantly about the content, the subject, the subject that we're interviewing, the information that we want to push out to our viewers and our audience. So we have strong convictions about the things that we celebrate. So we celebrate people, but
yeah,
specifically, in light of everything that's gone on in the year and a half of what we're experiencing, the social injustice, the racial divides, and that talk that is obviously affecting everyone under the sun.
yeah.
Um, sharing things like this, and we're all into fashion, we're all into bridal, but talking a little bit about your background, your history, and how that connects and how it has affected you in that way, and what it could do. Has it affected your perspective? Has it shaped you positively or negatively? I want you to share a little bit about that journey.
Are you talking specifically about COVID and things or are you, or just
First, We'll
Yeah.
get to COVID, because that does
Mhm.
speak about like how the changes that have happened in the model of your business. But first of all, you're a man of color,
Yeah.
and I could see that. And you know, you're the first Haitian designer I've ever met, or even other than myself, that I've even you know, had the pleasure of interviewing.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about being an African American man of Haitian descent in the United States. Has that affected your coming into this industry, or the
Yeah.
industry and bridal?
Yes, it has. So for me, because I've been sort of incognito in the beginning, you know, nobody really knew about me, and my business model was custom. So
Wow.
a lot of my clients found out about me through word of mouth and through another client just being happy and saying, "Oh, this guy made my dress," blah blah blah. And that's really how it started for me. And I liked that in the beginning, to just not even be, you know, um, that out there, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
I think it's after a while that I realized that what I was so my at the time when I was started my business, I was really designing like any other designer. I wanted to, you know, in my mind, I wanted to be famous. I want to do this, want to do that, and I was designing what I thought most people wanted to see.
I see.
Obviously, yeah, from designers. So a lot of times, a lot of my clients, until they came to, I had a small, I remember a very small studio. And until they came to the studio, they thought I was Caucasian, or they thought I was French. And I've had a few people open, you know, once they open the door, they're like, "Oh my God, you're like a black guy." You know what I mean? And that would throw me off. And I'm like, what is that supposed to be? You know? So I had a few of those. And it took a little bit of time for me to completely, I always felt proud of who I was, but to really completely say, you know what? Not only am I a Black Haitian designer, but I'm good at what I do. And I know I'm good at what I do, you know? And to have that completely sink in and be like, you know what you're worth, and you know what you can do, and you can do just as well as everybody else.
That's right.
On the level that everybody else think that, you know, that you cannot achieve, but you're already there. And I've always I always strive to do that, and to be at the top of my game all the time. And I'm just very lucky that I've had like my family, everyone just always be behind me and push me 100%. Like no one told me don't do this or don't do it this way. Don't, you know, so I've always had that really
Strong foundation.
support. Yeah. And I think that just made me believe in myself even more.
Awesome.
And so now it's a complete different way, the way I look at things. Like, you know, when a bride comes in, I know what I'm capable of doing. So I'm very sure of what I can do. And if I can't do it, I'm very honest and tell you I can't do this or whatever. But whatever I could do, I'm sure about it. And so in the past, I think it's all those things that just came to fruition eventually and just made me feel like, okay, you know what, you could do this, Ralph. And people telling you can't do it, but, you know, always believing in yourself that you could do it.
Wow. So that healthy, like, self-confidence coupled with
It helped a lot because, like I said, in the beginning, it was, even in school, we're a handful at Parsons. I think we were like maybe 5 Black kids, you know what I mean? In school, it was not that. Yeah. So it's like, and I graduated with, I don't know, you know, the designer, Derek Lamb.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all in the same class. A few of us, what's her name? Also, she headed J. Crew. Lyons, what's her name? Jenna Lyons. We're all in the same class. So we had a very competitive crew.
Wow.
You know, and that's what I loved about Parsons. They really made you whole, but as a designer, but you had to create what was the aura about you, who what stand out. And for me, at the time, it was just the fact that I love couture and I love higher end finishes.
Yeah.
That's always, I love the garments to be so well made that you can flip it inside out and wear it. And just, like the attention to all these details that most people don't look at.
Right.
And when somebody would say, "Why is this Fendi cost this much?" I said, if you look at the inside, I'm
you
one
can
of those
wear
guys.
it on the reverse.
Yeah. All the time. it out to a store. I'm like, look at the inside. Look how well this is why you pay. And that's the kind of stuff that I always achieved. I always wanted for myself. And then I remember when I was in Europe, I went to the Prada store, and I remember looking at packaging and things, and I was like, this is what makes a brand. You know what I mean? This is what makes a designer, you know, and all the details and stuff like that. But
I love it. I love it. Were you, before launching your own bridal couture company, did you work for anyone?
Yeah, I actually worked in outerwear.
Mm-hmm.
So my friend, the same friend who I made the first wedding dress for, she's the one who got me into outerwear. It was hilarious. I mean, I was looking for jobs, hadn't been graduated from school, and I had gone to a lot of designer places. You know, things didn't work out, and I just had an interview with Bagley and Mishka. And I was walking up the block from where their studio was, because at the time they were just in the studio, and I interviewed with both of them. And I walked away from there, and I called her. I said, "Oh, I don't know if that went too well." I said, "I think they like me, whatever." And then she said, "Well, we have an opening here." And I'm like, "Where's that?" She's like, "I'm Andrew Mark." She was working at
Andrew Mark Leathers. Okay.
Yeah. And then she called me. She said, "Why don't you come up right now?" And I went up, and they hired me. That's I ended up working at Andrew Mark for a few years and became the head designer there after the designer left.
Wow.
And then I did outerwear for a long time, but always my love for couture and bridal was always creeping up. And so I would do that on the side. And that's really started. Like I would work in New York, and then come home to Long Island, and then do this on the side. And then I would just meet people, and I started doing dresses like that little by little. And a few years down the line, I remember my family was like, just let go, because they knew I wanted to do it. And that was it.
Let go of outerwear and do your passion.
Of that comfort, because it's a comfort zone.
That's
of course.
Right. That's
get
right.
Money, that stuff, and you're doing well. And
Good point. Yeah. Wow. There does come a time where we got to let go of that comfort. So great.
Exactly.
So now that we are all Zooming and working from home, how does that change, your business model? How does it affect your obvious connecting? Because it's a huge part, when the designers come, when the brides come into the showroom and you're making that initial connection like you did with your peer friend from college. Now what? Are you connecting with them any other way?
Yeah. So believe it or not, for me, it actually never stopped. It's
really?
like it was weird. March came around, and brides embraced the Zoom idea, and my business continued to thrive during the whole COVID.
Amazing.
Brides were like, "Oh, okay," and I think they were like, it was a little weird at first, because we were trying to talk about stuff, but eventually we worked out. I worked it out with all my brides, where I was able to show them fabric through Zoom and talk to them, and we it worked out okay. And then we were able to reopen unlimited amount in June, and we got to see some, because we also had weddings coming up, so we had to reopen. So we had to wait for restrictions to be lift off, and we with precaution, we allow less amount of brides in the salon now. Obviously, everybody has to have the temperature taken. Everyone has to wear masks, and even when I talk to them, we have to stay a safer distance. But I think brides were just everybody was okay. I can't say that any of my clients, this is just the world. This is how things are now, and people accommodated it. We're able to work with it. And, as things get a little bit better, we work with it. We, like, even when I work now, and before we moved, we would just sanitize after every bride, comes in, we would say, we need like a half hour to sanitize the whole showroom and things like that.
Wow.
So you work with it, but I'm very lucky. JRT brides stuck, stayed, were there behind me as I was with them also.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I always say I'm also like, just my brides, because a lot of them, I had to go through a lot of changing things and weddings being postponed. So yeah. I'm very approachable. So I told my brides, and I always tell them to hold on. Things will get better.
That's so great. That's so great. So we're going to wrap up here. What would you like to say to young designers or emerging talent that doesn't seem to see their talent valued because of who they are intrinsically, and because they don't have the confidence in self, they don't have the family support, and also have the huge obvious challenge of not being able to break into the industry because of their skin color? What would you impart to them?
Yeah, it might sound a little, passe, but to really, truly believe in yourself, try to, and then do not give up your dreams. Even if you're not there believing just quite yet that you can do it, I dreamt like any other kid. I dreamt about a lot of the moments that happened to me, and, but it was through just perseverance. Yes, I was very lucky that I had a family that was behind me, but it's really not giving up on your dreams and not giving up on what you perceive your life could be, and and everyone has that, that ability to dream. And if you just hold on to it, it does happen. It depends somehow. Sometimes, it's a miracle how it happens, but it does happen if you just hold on to it.
I love that.
Let anybody tell you can't do anything, because that's not true. Only you know how hard you could work to make something happen.
Wow.
Else.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So we would love to see this showroom when you guys are ready to do a reveal. Please, I'll shoot you a message so that you can take us on a virtual tour. I'd love to have that.
Yeah, I would love to. And hopefully in the spring, you guys can actually make it. You're in New York, right?
Yes. Yeah, we're in Brooklyn. Yes.
Yeah, the spring, maybe you guys can make it out here and you can actually see it. But yeah, I would love to do that. I could definitely organize that with Antoinette.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry?
No, I said it's been a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, yes. So finally, I know. And I appreciate Antoinette. Tell her thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And before we go, I have to do this for my Haitian friends. Jean-Ralph, merci. Ou t'es là avec nous aujourd'hui. Say something to us.
OK. Merci aussi. Et je suis très content que je joigne un fellow, comme dit ça, un fellow designer. So, très content.
Good. I love it. I love it. And I love that you're mixing it too. That's what we do. That's what we do. Thank you again. And thank you everybody for joining us. Jean-Ralph Thurin, we'd love to see, we'd love to follow up with the virtual tour of the showroom so that our potential brides can support and reach out to you. Thank you again, and we'll talk soon.
You too. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. All right. Bye-bye.